Well, hi everybody. We're all live, but nobody wants to talk because we're all live.
Okay, at least according to YouTube, we're now live.
So
Random
we've
Square
got
Podcast 1.0.
we've got Judd Sandage, we've got Intel Bunny, Jim Brown, and or do you just want to see? I probably already screwed that up by giving a full name. And Final Millennium, and I'm Tom.
Or just Brad, because I actually want to keep.
Or you want to be Brad? Okay, you're Brad. This little windowlet won't stay away. There we go. Okay. So we have a
Tom,
list.
if you need a reminder of everybody's name, you can watch my Twitch. Just take a screenshot.
Because we only talk to each other every night.
Yeah. Oh no, I didn't remember who didn't want
like
what name out there. So.
Oh goodness.
So how's the camera look? I can't see it from this side.
You look great.
So,
lovely. You look absolutely stunning.
Well, I'm less concerned with how I looked and how the picture looks.
No, I mean it looks really good. It's really clear.
Can you believe that is a $24 webcam?
I am impressed.
Yeah.
No, that's
it's like if you look at mine, there's a lot of video noise. There's a lot of like little sparkles in it. Yours is just clear and it looks like a high definition TV.
$24 brand new.
Well, I'm so glad that I put this in the mail. It's here, ready to send. I just haven't bothered.
Well, I guess you can hang on. I was gonna wait for that to get here, but I was going through the daily deals on Amazon, and this was on here. It was down to $24. It was marked down from I think it was $31 without the sale going on.
Which one did you get?
It's an Aki something.
Oh yeah, I was looking at that one. I almost bought that one.
It's, other than not coming with any software whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
Well, you just plug it in and Windows 10 picks it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what's happened. I've noticed that's happening now. It's like I think there might be a camera class device now, which everything, if you're compliant, it just works without you having to.
That's why I was trying to figure out to see what it was recording because I couldn't figure out how it looked. Because that old webcam I used on my telescope was
So before we begin, what does
a little late for that
Star Trek? What does Star Trek and the Altair 8800 have in common? There's actually a link between these two things.
The menagerie?
No. Brad?
I was going to go with the light pattern on the computer consoles.
No. What about you, Judd?
You got me.
Bunny? Any ideas?
I'm just going to let you tell us.
So, the guy, I cannot remember the name of the person who designed the Altair 8800. Obviously, this is a fake Altair. This one's even a fake Altair. But anyways, when they were designing the computer, they're like, the guy that runs MITS was talking to his son, and he's like, we haven't figured out what to call it yet. And the kid's like, well, they always go to the Altair sector in Star Trek. So that device is literally named after a planet or a sector or whatever it is from Star Trek. It's named after a thing from Star Trek.
That is fantastic. That is cool.
Which is just perfect when you think about it. The Altair is the first the first real home computer, and real first personal computer, and it was a brand new technology when you think about it. And here is Star Trek, all about brand new technology and science fiction, so it fits. So, who wants to start on your thoughts about this week's episode of Picard? Everybody's got this blank look on their face.
Yeah, no, This week's was kind of heavy.
Yeah, really so number one, so let's take a step back to last week's episode. When they brought in Hugh, my childhood was just elated. It was like, oh yay, it's all these good memories, like good lessons, and all this. We get to the end of the episode, and I'm just sitting there going, they better not kill Hugh. They can't kill my little Huey. And spoilers alert, if you haven't seen it yet, please, please, please understand that this is a podcast, and this is one of the topics that is listed on tonight's podcast. So
I haven't listed anything on the live stream, just saying, hey, this is a live stream.
Okay.
Well, I don't even have my spoiler alert GIF up yet. Where's my spoiler alert GIF?
Okay. So, we get to that episode, and it's like, okay, so, the kids being, the whole knight in shining armor, do good for the good because he is weaker than you, it seems. So I'm going to stay here and protect him and help the lost cause. You know, it's like, okay, that's great. You know, that's along with his background. That's cool. And I'm like, so now they're not going to kill my Huey because they gave him a protector.
That's right. And Elmo was there to protect him.
Yeah, you know. And it's like we get to the point where we get to that big fight scene, and I'm like, you know, they're going to make this amazing. They're going to draw this out. It's going to be a thing for a couple of episodes, and then they killed my Hugh.
They got right to the point.
I'm just going to say, who's writing the show? Joss Whedon? Who has not died yet? Point. I mean, I'm waiting next for Beverly Crusher to get massacred on screen by an army of rampaging Borg.
Ouch! A little harsh.
So,
quite possibly, considering the way the series is going.
Did you get into my mints again? What's the matter with you? Hey!
Okay, is everyone else having the giggles because of the mints comment?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm just thinking of a cat eating a mint and what the response would be.
Wintergreen is in the catnip family, and my cat is definitely susceptible. He gets around a wintergreen mint and he just goes berserk.
So what you're saying is we should regulate mint because cats are addicted to it.
No, I don't think I'm saying that at all.
Your cat has a problem?
He doesn't consider it a problem, and I find it amusing, so I don't think so. But when I get down to 1 or 2 mints left in the Altoid box, I put it down open, and he likes licking the dust off the inside of it. It's very funny. He'll take a look at it, and he'll sit back like this and shake his head, and then right back into the tin.
So,
I can't get my
anybody?
cat.
Right
Okay, good.
So I've been finding nicknames for all the characters. So, the Romulan protector guy, Elnor. I've been calling him Elmo because that's all I hear, especially when Picard and when he say it, because they both got those accents. I keep hearing Elmo. Elmo goes to space. Elmo goes to a Borg cube.
I keep hearing
series
Elmo
of children's science fiction books. So, and then because I called him Elmo, I had to call the 2 Romulans on Earth to hang out at the Chateau Picard. They're now Bert and Ernie. You can figure out which one's Bert, which one's Ernie. I don't care. But my new, and obviously, okay, and this all started because Lieutenant Rizzo, the Romulan girl, I don't know her name, but the Romulan spy lady, when she was on Earth and she was pretending to be human, her name was Rizzo, the rat from the Muppets. So, but
you talking about the blonde girl that aced Maddox?
No. The first episode, the second episode, when O was talking to her, she was talking to the lady, the actress from the Tomorrow People. She was like leaning into her, and how did you let this happen? And there's this little tiny clue that things were still there. That was her name was Rizzo. That's her cover name on Earth. Rizzo is also a rat from the Muppets. So I like I said, I thought that was hilarious, and that's when all the Muppet names started coming. But okay, so setting all that aside, did anybody else find it was funny that the Rayanne's name, the male spy, the guy with the busted teeth, that his true name is Crayon?
For most of that, for most of the series, I'm just like, all right, let's just see what's going on, what's coming up next. I didn't even catch his name. I really didn't care.
He whispered a word to her, and all I heard was Crayon. So, yeah, okay. That's now his official name.
Okay.
I'm not done thinking of weird names for people.
So I've got a question for everybody. Off the topic of Sesame Street characters.
Well, now we're lost.
Yeah.
We don't know what to do now.
I know, right?
Okay, I'm just going to stop now.
So, how does everyone feel that this is a couple episodes, so the last 2 episodes. The traitorous bitch is sleeping with the ship captain, and then she's suddenly having realization of like remorse and guilt, and second guessing her actions in the. I don't know.
I didn't read it as remorse. I mean, yes, she obviously felt terrible about killing Maddox, but what she did in this last episode, where she just suddenly was like, "Can we just go home and so we don't find this android?" I didn't read that as remorse. I read that as her finally coming to the realization that Soji's a person, and she didn't want to, and she knew she was going to lead the Romulans to Soji again. And I read that as her final act. It would look to be her final act of killing herself. That's what it looks like, although I'm sure it's not.
That's
Was not
happened
remorse,
at all.
but she was sacrificing herself, or potentially sacrificing herself, in order to save Picard and the girl.
They haven't said it yet, but I'm pretty sure that what she injected herself with canceled out the drugs she took so the Romulans could track them.
I'm also sure that
I don't think she tried to kill herself. I think
Yeah,
it
she's
made
in
it
a
risky.
coma.
but
uranium hydride, I think they called it. So I think it's gonna destroy the tracking device.
Yeah.
Because next week she's in a hospital bed. We know that she's alive.
We know that it destroyed the tracking device because we saw it disappear off the Romulan screen.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, she still put herself in grave danger because that thing could kill her.
She did indeed.
And but like I said, I don't see it as remorse so much as she's finally actually on board. Whereas before she was doing this because she was. I thought originally she was doing this because of O's mind meld. And by the way, how many people thought, oh, there's going to be a mind meld happening, and that's why she's freaking out. And then, sure enough, that's exactly what happens.
I have to say I was surprised by that one.
You were.
Well, it's definitely a rewrite from the original series where mind melds were these personal things and all the Vulcans would ask permission and all of that. I mean, they kind of got away from it in the movies where I think it was Star Trek 6 where Spock grabbed the woman and like did the mind meld right there in front of God and everybody and just kind of like grabbed her and did her to find out how she was betraying the Enterprise. But this one, just for it being so, it's supposed to be this intimate act, and it was just like this casual transferring of information. I don't know. It worked, but I don't know that I like it.
Yeah, that's the trouble.
That could just be me.
That's the trouble with any superpower is it becomes.
I mean, they're
it changes over time with depending on who's writing.
They're writing the show because it's 50 years later and people's attitudes on things have changed. Well, no, I mean they have to update it for the current age, or it would be. I don't know, I want to say boring, but it would be very methodical.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to bring it forward so the young kids of today will like it.
Just a quick time out. Mic check, mic check, mic check. We've got 3 people watching.
Oh,
mic
cool.
check?
Well, I'm letting our game night friends listen to the stream, so.
Oh, so they can give us feedback as to whether or not they can actually hear everybody.
Hey, Black Eyes.
We're getting a third party vote on whether they can actually hear us screeching.
Yeah.
Screeching like banshees.
At least
I'm just watching the meters, and I know they're moving, so I figure something has to be happening.
I'm sorry, what? Well, never mind. Let's go.
Okay.
Anyways.
So, my brain went to the dark side of the mind when she was like having the realization and her entire little guilt trip. And I was like, okay, so she's walking over somewhere, and I'm like, okay, so she's going to go into an area, and then she's going to hit the airlock, and she's going to send herself out into space and sacrifice herself that way. That'd be great. Because, like, I was already in a...
really don't like that character at all. I was waiting for her to jump into the huge dinosaur-sized garbage disposal and just take herself out.
I wanted to see her. I wanted to see her hop into that warp core in the back of the ship, and that was the most interesting warp core so far, isn't it, Jim? The just like the 5 lights.
Every time I see that, I think of the revolver cylinder and a 6-shooter.
There are 4 lights.
That
I know.
I've ever seen a warp core done horizontally and not vertically.
So, Tom, fun fact: I just found out that I actually accidentally had your microphone muted. I don't know why.
I could hear him just fine.
I love you too.
No, on my stream. I was just like,
oh.
Yeah, it's like I looked at it.
Why is that guy? I see his mouth moving, but there's nothing coming out.
Yeah. Okay. So I apologize for that.
Well, I cut you off.
Check.
I cut the first 30 seconds of you off last week, so.
Oh goodness. Okay. So, anyways, hopefully those levels are a little bit more appropriate. Okay.
One of the little acting tidbits, and I mean, I know we're just like talking about random things. One of the acting tidbits. So, something that I thought they did really well in this last episode with Riker and Troy. And by the way, the writers screwed up.
Oh.
When a Beta Z woman gets married, the male takes her last name.
Yeah.
Canonically, William's name is now William Riker - Troy.
And they put it in the reverse.
And when we saw Thad's signature on a painting, it was, or whatever it was Troy Riker, Troy - Riker. That's wrong. That should actually be Riker - Troy. And if they were just to give a single name, it would be, we're now the Troys. Because Deanna Troy is royal. She's Beta Z royalty. She's heir to the sacred chalice of Reeks and the 5 holy rings and the whatever else Lwaxana kept talking about every time she boasted about who she is. So we meet this little girl who, by the way, is awesome. I mean, the little Kestra, was she not the best?
She's been
She
in
was
lots
amazing.
of stuff. She's good.
Yeah, she
So
was pretty
we
entertaining.
meet Kestra.
Too.
We don't meet the son. We don't meet Thaddeus. And I'm like, I want. When are we going to see the kid? When are we going to see the boy? When are we going to see the boy? And then, okay, Picard could go lay down in Thaddeus's room, in Thad's room. And then the next scene, when you see Deanna hesitating to open the door, I'm like, oh my god. I mean, all it took was that hesitation opening the door, and we already knew that Thad was dead. And it's just like in to back this up a few weeks, when we watched The Mandalorian about halfway through the season, and you see Mando playing with that little the control stick that Baby Yoda had been fiddling with, and he reaches up for it, and the same thing, you see that hesitation and that just interaction with the object gives us that window into the person's mind. And I don't know if this is a new thing. I don't know if I'm picking up things that I wouldn't have picked up 10 years ago, but the level of subtlety that these actors are putting into their work just blows my mind lately. And Mira Sirtis and I cannot remember the guy, the name that played Mando, both of them just incredible. That nuance. You knew everything that needed to be told about Thad before that she even opened her mouth about him dying.
Well, part of what's going on with that is Marina Sirtis has been a stage actor pretty much consistently since The Next Generation. So a lot of times you have to give an idea of what's going on by how you're moving instead of just what you're saying.
That's true. And was anybody else super amused when Riker's like, shields up, scan like the house?
Actually, I'm watching that and I'm thinking, oh god, it's Tom's house on another planet. There's tech everywhere and he's just showing off.
So would be if I had a house. I would,
yeah, it turned into a fight of what controls what.
You guys can't hear it, but all my lights just turned red, and my echo unit back there is.
Of course, you have an Alexa.
Good job.
Like that guy in Texas that turned his Alexa into a Matrix meme. Alexa, we need guns, lots of guns. The door thing pops.
It's the only color light I have in this room, but it doesn't look red on the screen there, but it is red in reality.
And my Alexa's now probably giving me a really weird look if it was humanoid.
I have the one that's on my desk is named computer, but it's not plugged in right now, so it's not responding.
Brad, apparently you have somebody watching that wants to see your face.
No, there are decency laws in America, and we're not allowed to show Brad's face on live broadcasts.
Just because I look like something that scares crying children into quietness doesn't mean I want to show my face off.
It was the 3 women who had heart attacks that put the nail.
Hold up. Let's get serious about this. No, let's get serious about this. Okay, Brad's work is very important, and that's where we're going to leave it. His face is security measured.
No more.
We're not
like,
saying that. We're not saying that Brad works
on.
on a super. We're not saying that Brad works on a super secret military project or anything, but that's his. That's where he. That's his other work.
Someone do the alien noises.
X-File.
Yes, there you
X-Files
go.
need here.
Yes.
No, I just don't like having like. I'm not.
This is his
photogenic. I
desk.
just don't like having my photo
Okay.
taken. I look like crap no matter what I'm in. I actually got told by a professional photographer, "Can you move out of the frame? You're blowing out the white balance." I thought he was joking. He's like, "No, seriously, get out." It's like, ouch.
You know, my problem usually is, can you get behind everybody? Why? Because they're all shorter than you.
So it's true. Same here. I have to stand.
I am like the palest person in existence outside of albinos. And I know this because, like, you could put me next to any ginger in my family, which is 99% of them, and I am still whiter. I'm also the whitest person in this chat.
I don't know. I might give you a run for your money.
I
think you may win out in the end, but yeah.
Go buy some makeup. Tell me what your foundation is, because mine is pearl white. Porcelain pearl white.
First
You
of all,
realize-
I have no idea how to buy makeup other than going into a store. What you just said is just straight over my head.
You
Go
realize
to,
that you and
go to a store, makeup store, talk to a lady. They will find your foundation for you.
Pearl white.
And
Depending on what town.
porcelain pearl white. I am as white as can be.
you realize that you and Judd could never take a picture together.
Tom, she is as white as sour cream.
Yeah, just about. Huh.
It's like,
I guess
was
there is
was she in the
Don't
Glee
they
club
use you
and
to
the AG
balance out their
club
white
and even
scale?
the chess team?
And even the chess team. Yes, she
What's the
was.
only question you think is hard?
Were they like Picard, or were they like?
Is it Kirk or Picard?
I like her.
See, she
Do I
can't
like
answer.
her?
No, sorry. I was just told by one of my viewers that there's a little desync between the audio and video of the
Not
stream.
surprised.
So,
There's not a whole lot we can do about that.
yeah, I am so sorry.
OBS is actually. I found that when I use OBS to stream live, it never syncs up properly. And what I have to do sometimes is I'll go in and I'll adjust the audio sync live in real time, and then it goes the other way the next time I record. It just OBS is really bad about audio and syncing up. So what I have to do now, if I have to use OBS, I do a pre-roll. I pre-roll a something that I can listen to, adjust the audio during the pre-roll, and then that when I actually go live for real, it's synced up.
Yeah, OB's being a total dick. We're just gonna
Well,
go
I
with
mean,
that.
it's meant for streaming video games, not for
Thank you.
recording actual TV.
We appreciate it, Black Eyes. We do.
We do appreciate your feedback.
Yes. It's always something that we can always improve on in the future. And I have actually started the process of buying new computer components. So hopefully the streams will get better as we go on. So thank you so much for that. Anyways, what were you talking about? Because I got distracted. Because, hi.
So we have 3 more episodes of Picard, right?
Yes,
Oh.
this was episode 7, so 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah. Does anybody want to make any
8 episodes.
predictions? Anybody want to make any predictions about what's coming?
I think all we're really going to find out in this season is we're going to find out what the big mystery is. And
What the big
why
rock
it,
is? Yeah.
and what they're going to do next. And that's going to be really ended for the season. I don't think they're going to resolve anything.
I'm
I'm
not
not-
sure if we're going to find out what big mystery is.
I think
I
we're going to
think-
find out what the big mystery is next episode.
I think that I still think that there is some time travel involved because what O showed
No.
the girl is a memory, not a construction. And I think that Seven and Elmo are going to take over the Borg cube. They're going to wake up all the Borg, the still Borgified ones. I think they're going to kick the Romulans off of the cube, and I think Picard and the La Sirena, whatever the name of the little cargo ship is, I think they're going to be in trouble, a lot of trouble. And at the very end, at the climax of the final episode, the Borg cube is going to come to Picard's rescue, and they're going to use their Borg lasers and take out the whatever it is that is threatening them at the very end, the Jat Vash people.
Well,
That's
I
my
got some-
prediction.
bad news. They've already posted a synopsis to the next episode online.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Well, I didn't say that with next episode. I'm thinking that's how this season is going to end. Is the Borg rescuing Picard, which should be totally a total turnaround.
Actually,
The
I'd
scenes-
really like to see that happen.
The scenes they
Because
had at the end of the episode were pretty clear what they were going to do next episode.
Oh yeah, I mean, we know that next episode, Elmo triggered the emergency beacon, so we already know that Seven's going to show up again, and she's going to cowboy in there and save his butt.
Well, I think it'll be a little more than that, but we'll see if I'm right or not. If you were going to be crazy, if you were going to go right off the deep end, what would you do to save the situation? I can't get rid of all these Romulans, and I have to. So what? We already know that there's a queen chamber inside what's left of the Borg cube. Who can you think of better for a queen than 7 of 9?
That's what
Assimilate
I'm thinking.
assimilate those Romulans.
They made a big point
She's still
telling
alive.
us that not only is she still intact, she has all of her implants still functional,
Mm-hmm.
and that because she was implanted at a young age, she has more powerful implants than the converted Borg. They made
also
a
has more
big
control over
and
it.
what have I always been saying, Jim, in this series? What's the one thing that these writers do? Freaking Chekhov's phaser rifle. Over and over and over again, these writers are setting up dominoes and knocking them down.
Well, yeah, they're writing a little bit.
They're setting
new.
these dominoes up episodes in advance.
Well,
So
yeah.
when in episode 2, when Ernie says something like "There's a secret that will break your mind," now we're starting to see that secret breaking.
I
Elsie
think-
Phil's mind.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more like it's going to be very upsetting. I have such. You try to imagine what could the secret be that would be so bad you'd rip your own face off.
Right.
And it's like, because they showed a scene, and the scene coming up, some person is like knowing what it is and clawing at her face, and it's like, what possible thing could somebody say that you would try to rip your own face off?
I don't think that.
Other than, oh my God, you look just like Trump.
No! I don't think she's
Okay.
ripping her face off because of the secret. I think she's ripping her face. I think she's clawing at herself because of the trauma of the implant. Because what they did to push that into her head so hard, it's like mental rape. And in the past we've had mental intrusions be compared to rape. I mean, there was a couple of episodes of Star Trek where it was very
Unless it's a
clearly.
Vulcan mind meld, and then apparently it's just a nice way to say hello.
Yeah. Any
Okay,
final
so-
thoughts before we move along?
yeah. Brad, do you have anything you want to say, or Judd?
I mean, I don't really have any predictions because every time I think I know where this is going to go, the next episode goes completely 90 degrees off from where I thought. So, not predictions. It's just I'm really, really curious. After seeing that planet explode in that mind meld, like, okay, if that's involved with whatever caused the hidden sect inside the Tal Shiar to really, really hate synthetic life and all things artificial intelligence, I'm really curious where that planet was, because was that like the original Romulus, or was that some planet that they just discovered and were building on? What's the story with that? Because it kept getting re-emphasized in the mind meld, like, okay, what's the deal?
Yeah.
I was half expecting, as soon as Picard and Soji beamed out, all hell broke loose at the Troy household. As in, that's when the Romulans show up and start knocking everything out. That's what I was expecting, just from what they've been almost, not quite hinting at. But I'm glad they didn't. Beyond that, did you notice that the medical replicator was another 3D printer?
Yes.
I saw that.
And that's just a monoprice 3D printer, like $300.
Yeah, I love that. They did a good job with that one too.
I mean, wasn't the previous one like a Thing Labs 3D printer?
No, it was a Dremel.
I've seen at least 3 different models of 3D printers being used as replicators. So I got one final thought. We have synthetic humanoid robots that will destroy all of humanity. Didn't Ronald D. Moore already produce this show in 2004 and call it Battlestar Galactica?
Yes, if you want to go for the remake, why not go for the original and all the chrome shiny goodness?
I just feel like that they're just really. I just feel like the writers internalize Battlestar Galactica so much that they think they're Ron Moore and Gene and Glenn Larson.
They wish they were Ron Moore.
They wish they were Glenn Larson.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I will move us to the next topic now, so we can get on with the show, as I would like to put it. So, 2 shows and or movies to watch when you're sick.
When you're sick?
Yeah, we've got a couple of viruses going around. So we've got the flu and we've got COVID-19.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Don't
I already
say it.
did. I did.
Don't say it.
COVID.
Because
Right.
YouTube will automatically demonetize if they hear it.
You're
They
kidding.
hear what?
No.
If they hear what?
If they
The
hear
COV.
of the
The
beer
Charlie
flu.
Oscar Romeo
Beer
November
flu.
Oscar
Okay.
Alpha.
So, back on topic. So 2 shows and or movies to watch, like stuff to help you feel better shows, things that you would like to watch. Only 2. Each person gets 2 and their reasons why. So,
Well,
let's start with people that don't get to always go first. Let's go with Jed.
well, number 1, and I don't need a reason for it. The Princess Bride. And number 2, I'd say DS9.
Okay, so Deep Space Nine. And what's your reason behind that one?
Well, 7 seasons, 130 episodes or something like that. No, 170 some odd episodes, 7 seasons. It's actually quite good, especially once they get into the 2nd season. Stuff starts actually rolling along, and they get you hooked, and you stop thinking about how miserable you feel.
Excellent point. Okay, so next person that doesn't get to speak very often first, Brad.
Okay, let me just find my mute button here so you don't hear me railing and saying something bad. Kidding. Honestly, it's gonna be Inglourious Bastards for like favorite movie because it just makes me laugh so hard
I
every
want
time I watch it.
100 Nazi scalps.
Yes, it's comically hilarious to me, and it came out when I was in a rather dark point in my life, and it just had me laughing myself sick. And it's always something I go back to because it's just comical, and it's Tarantino. He's always over the top, so it's just fun to watch. And you can be sick as a dog and watch it and get the entire plot line.
Mhm.
The TV show I tend to watch when I get really sick is actually a Korean drama.
Really?
Yeah, it's the first Korean drama I ever watched. Again, dark point in my life, and it had me laughing pretty hard because the cultural differences were just comical to me. It's Boys Over Flowers, and it's just comically hilarious to me. Just if you ever watch it, I think it's on Netflix. They have the right version on Netflix with the original music, not the weird knockoff rap they did in the original American release. It's freaking hilarious just watching a bunch of rich boys just get their butts kicked by this, quote unquote poor chick just around every corner.
Okay. Jim.
When I'm sick, I like to watch something familiar because I tend to go to sleep a lot. I would probably watch some series that I know well, like one of the Star Trek series, just start from the beginning, or like Tom was talking about, Battlestar Galactica, or maybe pick something off of Hulu that I haven't watched for a while that's not quite as common. But one of the things I actually do watch, and I've done it before, is The Stand by Stephen King, the TV version, the 11-hour long one.
That'll
I
help
just
you
find
sleep
it-
through anything.
Well, yeah, it's not that bad. I kind of like it, Moon. And that spells Kleenex.
Okay, Tom, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I will watch a Star Trek show or series anytime. And that's definitely one. If I can't find anything else to watch, that's one of my go-tos. I love to go back through and look for '80s action shows. Anything produced by Glenn Larson and Donald Belisario. Every single one of those shows that they've made has been great. So you're talking about Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, Knight Rider, Airwolf, Magnum PI, any of those shows. That '80s stuff is just that's my wheelhouse.
Yeah, so I limited it to 2. But I do love the examples and how much thought you guys actually put into this and your reasons behind it. My 2, which this is going to speak to me as a person, I guess. Kiki's Delivery Service, which is a movie, and which is probably pretty girly of me. So we're going to go with that. And then my favorite series, like, it was on TV when I was growing up, Cowboy Bebop, hands down.
Hell yes.
Hey guys, Jim, Brad, Judd. Has anybody told her that she's a girl and it's okay if she's girly?
Shit.
I learned a long time ago not to bring that up because I don't feel like getting chastised for it. I'm sorry. I go to college and I also work in a college. I have to be very careful what I say. So I tend to, as Judd will attest, I've somehow managed to learn to keep my mouth shut.
You'll sit there and just like...
Tom, we're talking to the internet. If they know that I'm a female, we're going to have problems.
Sorry, I keep forgetting about that little problem.
I
don't know what it is about men on the internet, or males on the internet. I can't even use the word men. Why they can't control their hormones.
So many inappropriate jokes coming to mind. Must not say
I know, right?
Yeah,
we're going to test Brad's ability to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, please don't. Don't trust me, because I was dealing with trolls on another streamer that I follow, and she just had a bunch of trolls coming, and it's like, I wish I was there. I would have loved to have played with them. I would have loved to have had fun with their heads. And the mods are like, do it. I'm like, yeah, I missed it.
They have to be smart enough to know they're being mocked.
Oh, that's the fun part, is the rest of us on the stream that know her don't care. It's just that don't raid some chick's room and just start asking inappropriate questions. It's like, come on, guys. That's not appropriate.
Okay, so
totally off topic, but maybe a little bit inappropriate. How many of you guys visit the library regularly?
I haven't in like...
Even
regularly, once a month is regularly, technically.
It's like a block and a half from here. I love it.
Is the library in your towns like turning into a homeless camp?
No.
It's weird. I go in there and it's like shopping carts are lined up outside, like motorcycles at a biker bar. It's crazy.
In California, you can't kick somebody out of a library unless they're causing a disturbance. It's against the law.
Oh, that would explain it. And what's funny is what happened.
In Oregon, we don't have that problem.
Wednesday, my kid was there at a meeting, and I was waiting. I was just reading the book on my iPad, and this lady starts yelling at this guy. You're the third person to come up and talk to me and tell me to get out the phone. I'll get out the phone when I'm ready. And it turned into this whole big scene. It's like, oh my gosh. It was a whole big scene where she was like yelling at people and threatening people, and they're like, we're going to have to call the police. And she's like, you can't kick me out of here. There's no reason. I haven't done anything wrong. And I'm like, at that point, I'm like,
loud.
Lady, they've asked you to leave. It's trespassing. At that point, and then she starts yelling, getting involved.
Most of the libraries in California they're publicly owned. They're part of the county system.
Yes.
Since they're paid for with tax dollars, unless somebody is causing a ruckus or disturbing people, you can't ask them to leave.
Well, she was at that point, so there was
in Oregon, all the libraries up here, they associate with books. At least here in Coos County, they associate books, but they're all privately owned. They were put together with a trust fund that was paid for by the loggers a long time ago, and they're private property. They can tell you to get out anytime they feel like it. But on the bright side, I live in a real small town up here. The selection we have at the local library is better than most of the places in San Diego that I went to.
Jim doesn't need to go to Blockbuster. He goes to the library to check out
Dude, they have got thousands of DVDs down there. It's amazing. Books on tape, DVDs. I have yet to go in and request a book that they couldn't get for me in a couple of days. It really is quite amazing for a town this size.
So if they don't have, do they check out video games there too?
They do not have video games, at least last time I was there. They do have a big bank of computers, and some of them have games on them.
So can you play Google Stadia on the computers in the library?
I have no idea.
I wouldn't want to.
Well, I mean, you guys know about Google's gaming platform, right? And I mean, the publishers are all on board with
nice
this.
transition, Tom.
You like
I
that?
love it. Yes.
That was your thing. Why don't you tell us what's going on with that?
Oh, you're gonna make me. Okay, so Google is trying to get in on the big gaming platform. I don't know what to call it. Epic Games released their thing, and then you have the makers of like Ubisoft. They have their own platform that they're selling games, some exclusive stuff. Borderlands for PC was Epic Game Store exclusive, and there's a big outcry. And now we have Google.
But with all those other services, you're downloading the games. Google Stadia is letting you play them online through a tablet or a computer or a smartphone, right? That's
It's remotely
kind
rendered.
of. Yeah. So there's a couple of issues with it, and a lot of game developers don't want their stuff on the platform because it's going to hurt the game developers in a way that I'm not sure is actually technically hurting them. But if you saw the link that I included, it's about the two narrowed reasons for it. It's not
that's on,
an established.
inverse.com.
Yes, it's not an established enough for developers to want to take a chance on it. So they haven't really done what Epic Games has, which, I mean, I know that is like the curse word for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be said here because that Ubisoft and a few others have made it to where game developers are now making their own platforms to sell their own games, and Google's trying to get in on this hype.
So you're thinking is that they're afraid it's going to dilute their own market share of their own streaming, of their own not streaming services, but their own game launchers and storefronts by including them on Stadia.
Yeah, that, and a lot of the developers are afraid, really, what is Google's incentive?
Mm-hmm.
Are they actually dedicated to the platform, or is this just a joke?
Well, I mean, Google is kind of notorious for starting big hype projects and then closing them down.
What's the last big Google project that actually Google kept around?
Gmail.
I mean, Gmail's about
Gmail
it. Gmail
and Drive. Drive with all of its associated services. So they're calling it G Suite now with
They're-
Google Docs and Spreadsheet and everything. But yeah, it's like everything else they throw away. I mean, gosh, how many people are I still cannot find anything that really replaces Google News. Even the
Google
people that
Plus?
popped up. Yeah, Google Plus. There's a good example. I mean, who wants to use Google for Facebook? I guess nobody did.
I mean, it was popular with the open source community because it was not Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They just continued to not improve it. People would complain, we need this stuff fixed, and they'd say, yeah, we're working on it, and then radio silence.
And the time frame they're saying that they're going to get this platform up, going, and a success is a year.
It's pretty typical.
I mean, from one of my friends who's already been playing on it, he had early access to it because he's a reviewer. He was saying it's not very good. It's got a lot of lag issues where input is lagging up past a second for input, which on a streaming service is ridiculous. And he's on a fiber service. He's on a fiber line.
That's
I mean,
that's crazy.
Enterprise hardware. He's not running like a bad DSL connection and a POS like $30 home router. He's running real networking hardware that on any other service he's looking at 15, 20 millisecond lag, and he's getting over a second of lag. He says, and the problem is it spikes. Sometimes it'll be really well, then all of a sudden just completely.
I just want to add a comment in from one of my viewers, Black Ice 4047, was basically agreeing with us. Google kills off a lot of things that aren't immediately successful. And I mean, it's just a regular thing. It's a catch-22.
And it's not just Google. It's the whole tech industry. If it's not successful, they kill it. Look at what happened with the new CEO of Activision Blizzard. Well, Destiny's not making enough money. Kill it. These games, there's not enough interest. Kill them. Stuff that hasn't even been released yet, they're killing projects that would have been successful. It's like, okay.
So my ping time to google.com is, I'm on gigabit, by the way, gigabit fiber, so is 32 milliseconds. So that's the least amount of time you can take to turn around a control input. And that's 2 frames of video at 60 frames a second. And I know gamers that are out there, especially in the retro gaming community, that are freaking out over 1 frame of video. So the shortest possible response time on Stadia is 2 frames, and it's probably going to be more than that because you got to render the video, you got to respond to it on the host side, and then you got to send the video back. And and we're not doing 32 bytes. We're doing megabytes per second of full screen video. Yeah, I can't imagine that not being laggy.
Can I just add in one big complication Google is going to have getting this to be successful? They have taken the trust from basically there is no trust with developing things with Google because of their history. How are they going to get big name game developers on and have exclusive releases that kickstart and keep their platform alive long enough for it to take off?
Yeah, that's a huge thing, but as someone who plays a lot of games and has a huge gaming library going back 20, 25 years worth, I've got games on 3.25 and 5.5, what is it, 5.25 inch floppies?
5.25.
My biggest problem is if I buy a game on Google and they decide to can the platform, I paid money for that game.
Exactly.
What happens to my ownership? Does it transfer out?
Here's an interesting thing: is NVIDIA's gaming service would let you pull in games that you've already bought on Steam.
Ooh.
So if you own it on Steam, you basically could pull up your Steam client on NVIDIA's service and play it. Now, the first question I have is, I've been reading that the developers are saying that they're not getting. Google didn't come to them and offer them millions of dollars in money. And so what I'm hearing is the reason they're pulling out is because they're not being offered money to support Google's gaming service. Yeah. But which begs the question of, is NVIDIA offering these guys money to support NVIDIA Now, GeForce Now, or is it a thing where GeForce Now is being done outside of that ecosystem and they don't need to support it?
If they're tying in Steam, I think it's more of an integration issue and less of an ownership or profit sharing. Mm-hmm. If they're using Steam as their provider platform for ownership of a game, then the vendors have already made their money.
Yeah.
So who's rendering it? And I'm paying for a service ostensibly leasing video rendering from NVIDIA's cloud. So there's not really any issue there. Whereas if Google, they're not doing that. I mean, the whole reason why, like you said, there's a huge incentive issue. If I'm going to have to rewrite my game to work on your platform, and you're not going to, is it worth the money to do that? Because some of these games, like AAA games, what might seem like a trivial bit of work could cost upwards of $1 million in developer time to convert over, test again, run through all sorts of scenarios, validate, possibly have to make new modifications and new chunks of code to handle gaming input lag or stuff like that. That's not cheap, and it's not easy. That is some seriously difficult work.
Yeah.
Now, from my understanding, the biggest issue with Google Stadia is what we've all discussed, The developers, nobody's flocking to it because they're not sure if Google's going to stay with it, how long they're going to stay with it, that kind of thing. So that's why a lot of developers just kind of shied away. Google, apparently, the amount of money they're offering for developers to come to them is a pittance. Apparently, maybe it's a couple $1,000s. That's it. They're I don't know what they're doing with it. I don't even think Google knows what they're doing with it.
Yeah, this seems like another one of their pie in the sky. Hey, let's do this ideas.
Yeah. The other thing is with GeForce Now, NVIDIA's streaming platform. They've been in beta for a couple years now, and I was playing with somebody last year. He was playing on his Mac using the beta, playing Rainbow Six Siege, and he wasn't doing half bad. The problem is now that it's actually live, you get 1 hour free. So if you want to play it, you set up, create an account, associate your Steam library with it, and you can play for an hour for free. If you pay $5 a month, you get 6 hours as an instance, and you get priority in line. So you have to wait in line to actually play the game. The problem is that as soon as they went live, 3 or 4 major developers said, do not have ours on your platform. Even if it's already been paid for through Steam, we're not letting you stream it. So there's all Bethesda's gone except for, I think, Doom.
Activision Blizzard pulled out as well.
Yeah, Activision Blizzard pulled out. So basically, all the big studios are not available on Google Now, or GeForce Now. So you're limited to even indie developers. There's a couple of them have actually requested don't allow it to be played through GeForce Now. And I'm just going, come on, guys, you've already gotten paid for it. This is just a separate. This is just like buying a video card.
Renting hardware. That's it.
Are you saying that maybe the game developers want to double dip on these game sales?
Oh yeah.
Oh, quite possibly. Or not the devs, the distributors. Like
you and I have had this discussion before. If you're paying for a service to play the game somewhere, of course the people that wrote the game want a taste. Of course they do. They're not going to let you do that for free.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
they got restrictions so you can only install the game in one place. You really think they're going to let them cloud serve it all over the planet? You're wacky, man. They want to cut of that money. And I don't blame them. Plus, every company out there is probably trying to figure out how to come up with their own streaming service anyway. Once somebody figures out how to do that reliably, yeah, baby, I'm the iTunes of video games. That's some serious coin.
Well, that's supposedly what Sony's doing with PS5.
Yeah,
That's how they're getting backwards compatibility.
I'm gonna put some voice in there. One of my viewers says, yeah, it's a real shame the developers are doing that, or they've done that. So that is from my viewer, Black Ice 4047. So a little intake from the community. Outtake.
Realistically, you've already paid for the game. And now you want to pay for the game again simply because you're using a different way of playing the game.
No, I don't want to pay for it again, but I can see where the developers are coming from. That would be like saying, look, I bought this game on Macintosh. I want to play it on my PC now. Why don't I just get a free copy? I already bought one.
You know what, though?
It's a different form of distribution.
A lot of games a lot of games do let you download another copy, especially on Steam. If you buy it on PC, download it on Linux.
You just give that shit away and let somebody else make money on their property. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Come on. You know that's not what's going to happen. You know, these guys own this game, and if somebody else starts making money off of their work, they at least want some of it. You know, there's just, I just don't see how anybody can expect them to let them do that for free. I mean, think about it. If you wrote a piece of software and you sold it to somebody, and then somebody else started streaming that and paying, and charging a fee to stream your work, wouldn't you want something for that?
Yeah, but you've already been paid for it, because
that's the thing.
If it was streaming to people, like if this is streaming to Twitch, I'd have a problem. But if it's the owner of the software playing it from a cloud source rendering because they don't want to dump like $1,000 into a gaming rig to play it, Okay, that kind of gets weird because it's like, look, I just want to play my game I paid for.
Well,
I get your point. You have a valid point.
You would not have
invest
paid
millions
for
of
it
dollars
if you
into
didn't
this.
have
It makes
Hey.
sense.
Hey, guys, don't talk over each other, please.
I mean, you would not have paid for it if you didn't have a PC in the first place. And it's just, I don't know. I would have to research the laws on it, but I have a feeling it's going to end up being something like right of access to real estate. If you let somebody do that, then it becomes okay. Or maybe that's what they're afraid of, but I don't know.
think we're going to find that as long as we have precedent, because we already have Amazon S3, we have Microsoft Azure, we have all these cloud services that already let you access your own virtual computer over the web. If I rent a Amazon Azure instance, a Microsoft Azure instance, and I install SQL Server on there, I pay for that instance of SQL Server on that server. But if I remove that SQL Server from that instance, I can install that on another server in my own facility. I don't have to buy a second copy from Microsoft. One instance, one purchase. That's legally, I'm not going to say it's legally precedent, but that's the established precedent in the industry. So what scares me is the thought of renting software, of having to rent software and having to pay perpetually forever now. And that's, there's so much, you could have a huge discussion on that, but
it's not the same thing.
But on the other side of the coin, look at how cable TV is distributed. What happened with every time someone's tried to create a local or a internet TV service that streams broadcast television, those signals go out over the air for free, but you still have to pay again to rebroadcast those signals over cable, even to people that can get that signal with an antenna in their living room. So the copyright maximalists have made it to the point now where you're going to have to pay 2 or 3 times for your content anyways. And and unfortunately, you're probably right, Jim. The video game companies, even if it's not legal to even if they don't have the legal right to restrict it to that point, they'll throw so many lawyers and so many problems at it and make it so difficult that it would be easier for Google to pay money anyways than to try to get around this under some sort of fair use exemption.
I mean, the one point that I'm amazed no one's brought up is all these games are covered by EULA, an end user license agreement. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something in the EULA that says, no, you're not allowed to do this.
You are, in fact, not allowed to rent games, and that's very explicitly spelled out in most EULAs, and you're not allowed to use them to make a profit in, say, a cyber cafe without a separate license. So if you own a room, say, a room where you have 50 computers and people come in and rent time on your computers, you can't actually let them use your copy of a game unless you have a separate agreement with the publisher for that game. And you know who started that was Doom. When Doom came out, people were putting Doom on arcade machines, and you'd go in and you'd buy an hour on an arcade machine to play Doom. And id Software they knocked that one down.
Well, they should.
Wow, I can't believe that happened back in the Doom days.
It was either Doom or Quake, but yeah, that's when it first came up and became a thing where people were renting out time to play games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hey.
So I think we will transition off that complicated topic and move to Tom's little spotlight.
Uh-oh.
So I wanted to share a couple of delightful television shows that I discovered this week. Well, one delightful and one feels like a little bit exploitative. So first thing I found, I was actually on Facebook when I found out about this. Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, and I'm just going to let a little bit of it run in the background while I'm talking, and that's actually really annoying. Let me turn that off. So Zoe here, the girl in the middle, you can't actually see because my big fat head is in the way, the redhead there, she sees people singing and dancing their thoughts. Oh, and I love it. The floor is green, so the green's cutting it out. So what she's seeing is what's in people's heads. Somebody might be talking, might be just in reality, just sitting there quiet, and all of a sudden, like this lady's about to do, she starts singing about how her life is going nowhere, blah, 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 to Zoe. And then these people this is all, she's basically hallucinating all this. I really enjoyed the pilot episode, and I'm looking forward to watching the next episode to seeing what's going on. Is she actually a prophet, or is this just her going crazy? But what's I find interesting about this is that there's this whole subgenre of supernatural fiction about people that get messages from beyond and have to go act on those messages. And this is the latest instance of that. And one of the writers that I follow, his name is Marion G. Harmon, and he writes the Wearing the Cape series of superhero books. He's been trying to coin a phrase for that. And so we have this one. We had Eli Stone. What was the one with Eliza Dushku, where a dead person would wake up and say, "Help me," and then the next thing you know, she's like 2 days in the past. I can't remember the name. True Calling.
Oh, I don't think I saw that.
And then there was another similar one where this girl would, like, inanimate objects would talk to her, and she'd have to go help somebody.
Well, don't forget about Early Edition.
Early Edition. That was the other one that Harmon mentioned. Yeah, go ahead.
So my opinion so far, just from the preview that's playing behind your head, that is a level of anxiety-inducing
It would be.
Yeah, no, that's
trauma.
Ugh. Oh, thank you.
Just watching her go through that, it's like, oh, cool. My anxiety could get so bad watching this show because I feel so bad for this person going through this that it's just like, okay, I have socialized to the maximum without leaving the house.
So one way this gift was a gift to her is her dad is catatonic. But she's seeing people's thoughts, and her dad actually, in one of her episodes, her dad actually wakes up and sings to her. He sings to her one of those 80s inspirational songs. I can't remember what it was, like "The Earth Wind Beneath My Wings" or something like that. And I thought that was amazing. And let's see if I can find. There's the dad right there. Jim should recognize him from a lot of science fiction stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name, but yeah, he's as you can see, he's immobile. He can't talk. He can't do anything. But anyways, so that one's fun. Now on the flip side, this is another new show called Outmatched, and the whole premise behind Outmatched is so Jason Biggs and I think her name is Maggie Lawson. She was on Psych. She was the love interest on Psych, and of course we all know Jason Biggs from the movie about the pie. I don't think we need to go there. They have 4 kids, 3 of whom are unnaturally brilliant. They're all Sheldon Coopers. And then the little girl here is unfortunately not. On my screen, let's see if I can find her. This is really weird doing this. That little girl is, maybe subnormal.
She's average.
The nose, she literally said this, the nose is like a second mouth.
Okay.
No, the problem I had with this show is The Big Bang Theory, people called it nerd blackface because they thought, it was a lot of making fun of nerds. But at the end of the day, Chuck Lorre did a few things right with Big Bang Theory. Every time one of the nerds said something, talked about some scientific theory, every time Sheldon Cooper threw up a piece of physics math on the whiteboard, that was all real. Every single line of technobabble was vetted by actual scientists to make sure that it was legit. And if there were slip-ups in there, okay, maybe that happened. But the point being that show was supposed to be real in terms of the math, the physics, the science. These kids are running around making stuff up and basically stringing scientifically sounding words together to make. I don't remember the instance, but this kid had a jar of smoke, and it was like, yeah, we have something going on in here, and I'm just like, the thing he said, I'm like, that's not, you can't do that in a jar of smoke.
Yeah.
They taped off at one point you see the dining room, and it's taped off, and he's doing some experiment in the dining room. One of the kids is writing an opera, and they're like just writing random notes, scribbling random notes on the wall. But this guy right here is the perfect example of what I don't like about the show. This guy is not a compassion. It's just not a compassionately treated character like Leonard or Sheldon or Wolowitz. This guy is one of the dudes out of Revenge of the Nerds. this character is everything that is wrong with the Hollywood representation of nerds, and it's why I'm probably not going to watch this show, because these characters are not being treated like, at least this guy here is not being treated like we saw the characters in Big Bang Theory. They're being made fun of, and I don't like that. And maybe I owe the show a couple of episodes, but because the pilot's never like the rest of the series, but in the first episode that turned me off.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, like, if it's gonna grow as a series, like, okay, so you're gonna see, I mean, those teenagers they're gonna become adults. Do we find out that being gifted and talented in high school and starting college early doesn't necessarily mean you'll make anything of your life?
Sadly, that's true.
And I mean, I can stand from that standpoint because my sister is the little girl sitting there with the pigtails that is just of average intelligence and an average kid, a happy, average, healthy kid. And me and my brother both excelled and started, college early and did concurrent courses, and got degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the thing is, I'm so socially inept that it's impossible to interact on a level that would be productive of making, the tons and tons of money that I possibly could. And my brother's the same way. We're socially inept because we're autistic.
Are we at the point do you think we're at the point in civilization where another Steve Jobs or another Bill Gates is actually going to be difficult because the social aspect of business is more important now than the creative and technological?
Oh, yeah. You have to be able to, do social media. Your social media has to be, open for your bosses. If you get upset once and you post something about someone and it's not even work related, it's, this is a bad thing for your office. You get reprimanded for stuff via your office. You signed a contract that says that you can't be an individual anymore.
Sometimes that's true.
Yeah, don't get me ranting on social media and all that crap. I mean, some businesses in some fields now, they're actually asking for credentials for social media logins, so they can go.
I won't do it. The
company everything
says
I've seen or done or posted, and it's like, no, you're paying for me to be here during work hours. You don't get to control my private life.
Yeah, I mean, we're to ask for my Facebook login to say we want to vet your Facebook profile before. I was like, you can look at my public profile all you like. That's all you're going to get. If you're that, think about this for a second. If you're that intrusive of a person who doesn't work for you yet, what's it going to be like when you're there every day?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, you don't own me. Slavery ended in the 1850s.
Yeah, I went for a job interview in San Diego. This tells you how long ago this was, and they asked me, "We need all your social media passwords." And I told them, I said, "I don't have them." And they didn't believe me. I'm like, how can you be a computer programmer and a technician and not have social media? Because I think it's a waste of time. And
I don't need that drama.
I literally do not have one. They ended the interview. Thank you for coming by.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not enough that they can't look at, that you wouldn't let them look at it. It's like, I literally did not have one, and they wouldn't hire me because I didn't have one.
That's interesting, because we have laws now that say what a company is and is not allowed to do with their employees. You guys think that we should be championing laws that give employees privacy when it comes to their personal lives?
I think that if you have a Facebook account or a social media account that is connected to work, that's different.
Yes.
But your personal life is your personal life. And if they don't like it, they can take a look at a couple of the fingers on both hands.
And my employer, I signed a contract with my employer that said I won't use my position as an employee of that company, which is why I don't mention my employer's name here, but even here, that I won't use my position with that company in any public way that might reflect badly on them.
Which is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. I can't say I work for Initech or what was it? What did they call it? The one, Initech on Office Space.
By and large.
Yeah, when I, over here at Initech, we don't like that thing. That would be me speaking for the company, and that obviously they have PR representatives for that. But if I said personally, I don't like that thing, and I don't have Initech's name anywhere on my social media profile, why would they, and
That may
That's
not
it.
be privacy,
Even gotten.
but yeah.
But dude, I mean, think about what these companies are going to do. They're going to go through and right through your profile. What are your political
Oh,
associations?
do you think that they don't
Yeah.
go through it now if they can find it? Of course they do.
Oh, yeah,
It's
and
easier
they'll-
easier to find somebody's profile, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, just whole.
And they'll find that I avoid talking about politics.
You know,
in
it's
my
like, really, would
profile.
you,
They'll
you know,
find that
would you like to set some cameras up in my house? You know, be sure to put one in the bathroom so I can show you what I think of you. You want to go through my email and my regular mail. You know, maybe you'd like to have my banking account while you're at it. You know, just to make sure that I'm the type of person that'll fit in with your community. Yeah, bullshit.
I remember this was probably 10 or 15 years ago, and it was a gentleman. It was an interview with a gentleman that used to work at IBM. This was back in the 60s and the 70s. And he was saying that when he first started working there, they had a really strict dress code, and they would monitor it with random inspections. Basically, they would lift up your pants leg to see if you were wearing a garter belt to hold up your socks. This is true, and this is what they required.
Did you have to work with did this person have to work with the public or something?
No, he was just a general businessman in the employee of IBM.
I worked for a place once that tried to get me to shave my beard off. You know, no, seriously, it was quite a while ago, and it's like, you know, I was young and stupid, and I did. The motherfucker called me in his office the next day, fired me.
Oh, have a good night, Black Ice, and thank you for joining us on the podcast. I'm glad that you were here.
Called me in the day after I shaved my beard off and fired me and said, you'll have a lot better luck finding another job without that beard. And ever since then, it's kind of like, you know what, if it's not involved with work, you guys can bite me. I'm not doing anything.
Wait, they told you to shave your beard in order to keep your job, and then fired you the next day.
That we need you to shave your beard off working for us. It doesn't look good. You're working with the public. So I did, like I said, young and stupid. The next day when I came into work, I got fired. The fucking guy was just an asshole. I mean, he was just a dick. He thought it was funny. Just, yeah.
Okay, so
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. So talking about things that employers and or companies make you do dress code wise, I'm a female in the South, and not only did the public school system have a bra code, but you would be sent home or given detention or ISS if you were caught not wearing one. And the thing is, and I'm going to be apologetic in my next life, whatever. The Itty Bitty Titty Committee never had a problem because they didn't have much to show. So teachers never really caught on when flat-chested girls didn't wear bras. But the girls that did start developing in high school and, you know, develop past the B cup of bra, you know, they were being sent home. And the thing is, this wasn't just going on in high school. This continued into college. Like if you tutored for the college or you had any agreement, I was a peer mentor. I actually mentored other students on basically how to get good grades, how to study, how to, you know, use the college's resources. And I had to go to what they call the transfer fair. And that's when you go from a 2-year institution to a 4-year institution, and you teach the kids or teens or young adults how to transition from the 2-year institution to the 4-year institution and what they'll have available to them there. One of my first times going, it was, we have the transfer fair in the summer and we have the transfer fairs in the winter. Well, during the summers, it gets scorching, and I'm sure everyone in California is sitting there going, yeah, we know what scorching's like. We get, you know, horrible heat with, you know, 100% humidity. So, like, even if you wanted to, you couldn't sweat right to save your life. So, of course, me being me, I went braless, which was bad because most of the students that were transferring were also part of a very religious group. I'm not going to name any names or the club that was at the university, but they were part of a very religious group. So I was told, okay, hey, you need to go put a bra on, or you need to go put a sweater on. You need to go put something on because the parents of the students with us are uncomfortable. Okay, so my bras are like 4 hours north of here, and we carpooled. So what would you like me to do? I'm wearing a tank top and khakis. I mean, there are other people wearing less, but because of the fact that I was not wearing a bra, I was basically dismissed and not paid for that day. But because I had carpooled and I did not have access to a ride to get home, I was stuck until they were done with what is an entire day's tour of a university.
Dear Lord, that's.
I think it's California because California law requires if an employer asks you to be there, you get paid 2 hours regardless.
I am in a right to work state.
California's right to work.
Yeah, Arkansas does not have those laws. There's not much protecting us, or at least there wasn't back then, and especially if you are being paid in credit hours.
Yeah, it's completely different. That's a lot of colleges and universities have finagled ways around worker protection laws by classifying them as student workers, which get a completely different set of laws applied to them, which is unfortunate because a lot of the bigger universities like to abuse their student workers to basically get equivalent level of PhD employees and pay them next to nothing.
Yeah.
Because you're learning on the job. This is good. And like, this is the reason why I don't do unpaid internships. It's like, you want me there for 40 hours a week doing all the same work that everyone else is doing, but you're not going to pay me. And I have to drive 2 hours to get there? Yeah, no, I'm good.
So, my thing was, this basically paid for a few of my classes each semester. And I don't come from, oh, we can't, like, we're broke. I came from poor. I came from two parents that didn't have a job until I was, like, well into college.
Oh, boy.
So
that's
like,
also another...
next meal, I lived out of my car for a while. I mean, I didn't just come from poor. I came from the bottom. And the thing is, my dad was military, but, you know, no one took care of us. So this is my way of trying to better it all for everyone. You know, because if I could take the cost, some of that cost of school out, then that's stuff that could go towards what my family needs. And funny fact, the show that Tom is recommending but not recommending has 4 kids, and so does my sister.
I think everybody should watch Outmatched at least. I mean, give any show a chance. You know, and you know, little pro tip is like I mentioned earlier. No pilot is the same. Oh, they almost never. They don't make the pilot at the same time they make the rest of the show. They make the pilot and then they go shop that around. I've actually been on these panels. You'll see the pilot of a show and you'll give suggestions and feedback, and then they use that to go back and remaster the show and rework the show for the second episode. So in reality, the second episode of the show is the first episode of the rest of the show. You remember Babylon 5? They actually filmed. They filmed like 5 episodes before they made the pilot episode, specifically so they could get around that problem of having new people and all those other things. And they, anyways, yeah. Like I said, just because I thought that character was a terrible stereotype doesn't mean that the rest of the show is going to be like that.
Yeah.
My daughter.
I just wanted to make the comparison.
My daughter mentioned we're talking about dress code today, in fact, and one of the kids got dress coded for like her shirt just not quite reaching her belt consistently, and then she mentions how other kids will have basically a tank top on and a crop top and not get dress coded, and the guys can walk around in wife beaters and that they don't get dress coded, and there's definitely a double standard even here
yeah.
here on the West Coast. So I can imagine what it's like over the Bible Belt where you are right now.
Yeah. One of the big ones that my parents actually argued, I got suspended and recommended to go to an alternative school over the fact that I took my shirt off during PE. There was she's actually a very wonderful person. There was another student who was deaf who ended up having, she had a vessel in her sinus cavity burst. And it was basically uncontrolled bleeding. I asked for a little bit of help, and the guys just went, "Oh, we're going to go get the nurse." So I took my shirt off, and I used it to basically cushion her face as we walked her to the school, because we were out on the tracks.
Mhm.
Because, time is of the essence depending on what was going on.
Yeah, if you got blood coming out of your body, you want to stop that.
Yeah. So, and it was a very slow walk, but because of the fact that I took my shirt off, even though I was wearing a bra and a tank top underneath it, the fact that you could see the bra, you could, the tank top's not school regulation, they recommended that I should go to an alternative school.
Did we lose Jim?
I think he was playing with his camera because he was playing with like the background settings and stuff.
But yeah, so turns out that the nosebleed was serious enough that it ended up requiring surgery.
Wow.
Because she actually ended up having some kind of inflammation in her sinus cavity that burst enough that basically it was just open, and it wasn't going to stop on its own. She ended up being fine. She came back to school about 2 weeks later. And I ended up finishing out that year because my dad was about to wring someone's neck. And also, side note, after that year, my dad was no longer allowed on any of this city's public school properties.
I'd say he was doing the right thing being a good dad in that case, but still, that's a bit of an overreaction.
Yes.
There was another incident that year that occurred very close to this incident that just basically went, okay, you're not a bad kid, just your dad's not allowed on any public campus in this city. And that is probably not something that my father would like repeated on a live stream.
Oops. This is...
I was...
No,
Only
like
5 or
the
6
actual
people there, so-
incident.
Oh.
Yeah.
We won't mention
okay.
that. I was bullied a lot as a middle schooler and in junior high. And by the time I got to my second year of high school, they stopped bullying me because they realized that I was no longer smaller than they were.
That never happened for me. What the fuck?
Sorry about that.
It's similar circumstances. I was bullied a lot too.
My dad actually went down to the principal because the school was threatening to expel me because I started fighting back after the first couple of times. And the school threatened to expel me. And my dad went down there and he said flat out, if you're not going to control those students, then I have told him that if he doesn't beat the crap out of them, I will. I'll beat the crap out of them. In other words, if he doesn't defend himself from violent bullies, then he's going to get in trouble when he gets home. So if you have a problem with that as a school, then you're going to have a problem with me.
Okay, so since we've gotten so off topic, I'm going to go ahead and call the live stream here. It was a pleasure for everyone that is watching both mine and Jed's live stream. And I am so grateful to all of you who came out in support and watched, and especially Black Ice 4047, who I know has gone to bed, for his comments and critiques that I found adoring.
I like that, by the way, and I should probably keep your stream up so that I can... I like people chiming in and commenting and responding to that.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So
yeah, thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Night.
All right. End your stream.
Okay. No.